Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. So, your labs has been postponed. Okay. So, instead of that, they are planning to give some theory classes. So, first, we will complete the theory classes. When you come to the college, the labs will be conducted for you. Okay. Have you all got the
Yes, ma'am.
information regarding this? Yes. Okay. So last class we have discussed about this interrupt program status register and execution program status register. Okay. So here the interrupt program status register, it contains the ISR number of currently executing interrupt service routine. Okay. So we have, according to ARM Cortex M4 processor, your non-vectored interrupt controller supports 255 interrupt requests. Okay. So that interrupt request contains both your exceptions and interrupts. Okay. So your interrupt is a term, it is a part of your exception. So both the terms are different. Okay. So exception means it represents software faults. It is referred as software interrupt, okay, and it can be generated internally, okay. In case of interrupt, interrupt means the interrupt request is raised from the peripheral, mostly from the outside device, and sometimes, some cases, we will have uh, that is internal, that is on-chip devices can raise their interrupt request, okay. So in this register, so it holds the ISR information of currently being executed ISR. So first zero, when this particular bit 0 to 8 is 0 means it will be, that is your processor always starts with thread mode, and 1 is reserved, remaining all the things are exception up to 15. Okay. From 16 to, okay, 255, it contains interrupt requests from IR naught to IR n minus 1. So, how many interrupts in exception? 15 exception plus 240 interrupt requests. So, totally we have 255. So, this one is for thread mode. Is that clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Are you able to remember?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Okay. Next one is the execution program status register. So here it contains, this particular register contains three information, three execution state information. One is the thumb state bit. So this bit is always one, since your Cortex M processor executes only thumb based instructions. Okay. So it supports thumb 2 technology. So your processor always execute thumb based instruction, that is 32-bit instruction. So this bit is always one. Okay. And next one is the if then instruction. Okay, this if then, that is this particular 25 to 26 and 10 to 15 can be utilized for two purposes. One is for holding interrupt continuable instruction, and other one is for if then else statement status. Okay, so this interrupt continuable instruction field for interrupted load multiple and store instructions. Suppose if a processor is executing LDM or STM instruction, that case the processor status will be holded by interrupt continuable instruction bits. Okay, but in case of executing IT block, it will hold the IT, that is if then else statement execution states. Okay, so the purpose of this if then There is IT blockers. So we can incorporate 4 conditional instruction under one block. Okay. So here we have 2 instruction. Under this IT block, single IT block, we can have 4 conditional instruction. So here, this then is for, it's a condition for first instruction. So this else is for second instruction. Okay. So the first instruction conditional attribute is equal, else it is not equal. So if the number is, suppose if we are comparing R0 with #1, if both are equal, that case this instruction will be executed. Okay. If both are not equal, this will be executed. Okay. So without any branch instruction, using conditional attribute, we are able to execute the branch instruction. Okay. So based on the condition, it will execute the instruction. If it is equal, this will be executed. If it is not equal, this will be executed. This instruction is. So it incorporates branch related attributes using a single move instruction. So we can integrate conditional attributes with data processing instructions. Is that clear, students?
Yes.
This is the IT block. We have X, Y, Z. So X specify the conditions for second. Third, next Y specify the condition switch for third. Z specifies the condition switch for fourth. Okay. And this will hold the condition switch for first instruction. So I have explained these two. Do you have any doubts? See, if you have any doubts, you should ask. Any doubts regarding this?
No.
Hmm? So, shall we start the next topic? So, next
Yes,
one is the execution mask register. So, we have 3 register under this category: priority mask register, fault mask register, base priority register. So, all these registers are 32-bit register which are readable and writable. Readable and writable. Okay. So we have 3 register: priority mask, fault mask, and base priority. Okay. So first I will explain the importance of these registers. Okay. So these registers are used for exception or interrupt masking. Okay. Exception or interrupt masking. What is the meaning of masking? Enabling or disabling?
Ma'am,
Uh,
ma'am, still some of them are waiting outside.
oh, 1 second. I think she has joined. Yes, Sheshastri?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So mainly these registers are used for exception or interrupt masking. What is the meaning of this term, masking? Enabling interrupt sources or disabling interrupt sources?
Disabling.
Disabling, ma'am.
Enabling interrupt sources, okay. See, according to your architecture, okay, each exception or interrupts has priority level, okay. So here, the smaller number is the higher priority. Suppose if the number is 0, it receives highest priority. Okay. Suppose if the number is a larger one, that exception receives lowest priority. So this is the concept. If the exception type number is 0, it receives highest. If the exception type number is larger, it receives the lowest priority. Okay. And the important thing is they can only be accessed in the privileged access level, because your interrupt handler always run in privileged access level. So all the registers can be accessed in privileged mode. Please note down, this is very important point. So unprivileged mode, we cannot access all these registers: priority mask register, fault mask register, and base priority register. Okay. So based on the priority level, so each exception has priority. So based on priority level, these special register enable or mask interrupts from being triggered on the external pins of NBIC. Okay. External pins of NBIC. So it has a capability of disabling the interrupt request, which will be triggered, which will be raised by the external devices. So it has the capability of disabling the interrupts raised by the peripheral devices. Okay. For example, if the exception with level 1 and level 2, okay, level 1 and level 2. Priorities occur at the same time means the exception with level 1 priority will be serviced first. Okay, so it's very similar to your 8051 interrupt structure. When two interrupts occur at the same time, based on the priority, the interrupt request will be serviced. Okay, and all the registers are accessible only in privileged access level, and all the bits of interrupt mask registers are cleared by reset. Okay. So upon reset, all the values are 0. That is all the register. Your register contains 0. Okay. Is it clear? So we will see one by one. So first one is the priority mask register. Okay. So priority mask register is the 1-bit register. So the 0th bit will be utilized by priority mask register, remaining all the bits are reserved. So the size of this register is 1 bit. So when this bit is 1 second. So when this bit is 1, okay, so it masks all the interrupts or exception sources except non-maskable interrupt. Okay, please note it down. So when this bit is 1, okay, this particular bit is 1, okay. So it masks all the interrupt sources except 2 interrupts. Okay, one is non-maskable interrupt. So this is the first one, and second one is hard fault interrupt. So what is the purpose? Actually, the purpose is based on the priority configuration, it will block the interrupt request. Okay. So when this particular bit is 1, it disables all the interrupts or exception sources except non-maskable interrupt and hard fault exception with configurable priority. And bit 1 to 31st is what the 31st bits are reserved for future modification. So it can be accessed only in privileged mode. Okay. So the purpose of this particular register is to disable all the interrupts during the execution of time critical section of program code. Suppose during the execution of critical section of codes, this register is used to disable all the interrupts by programming this bits. Okay. After execution of time critical task, this bit must be clear to enable all the interrupts. Okay. So during the execution of critical code sections, suppose if your processor is doing any emergency case, in order to avoid the interruption from the interrupt sources, this priority mask interrupt can be utilized to disable all the interrupt requests. Once the execution is over, critical section of code execution is over, programmer has to clear this particular bit to enable all the interrupts. Is that clear? Can anyone summarize the importance of priority mask register?
Can you explain the last point again?
Yes? Yes, ma'am?
Could you please explain the last point again?
Last. Actually, bit 1 to 31st is reserved. Okay. If the bit is 0, it does not have any effect on the register. Okay. Suppose if it does not have any effect on your processor side. Okay. If the bit is 1, okay, it prevents the activation of all the interrupts except your non-maskable interrupt and hard fault interrupt with configurable priority. Okay. So the importance of this priority mask interrupt is it's mainly utilized in the case of critical section of codes. So critical section of codes means
Ma'am,
yes.
ma'am, students are waiting outside. Ma'am. Can you give permission?
இல்ல அது ஏன் அது அலோ ஆயிரும்ல
அவங்களுக்கு பர்மிஷன் கேக்குதுன்னு சொன்னேன்.
இல்ல இங்க பாருங்க no one is waiting here.
Okay.
So what is critical section of code? There is an emergency code. The processor has to complete the code within a time limit. Okay. So that case, if any interrupt is arrived, your processor has to give the importance to your a critical section of code, not for interrupt. That case, we can utilize this priority mask register to disable all the interrupts request and execute the critical section of code. That is, allow the processor to execute critical section of code. It's an emergency code. It has to complete it. Your processor has to complete this code within the time limit. Okay. That case, you should disable all your interrupts by using this priority mask register. Once the execution is over, the user has to clear this bit to enable all your interrupt requests. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
what is a hard fault, ma'am?
Hard fault is something related to your hardware. Okay. So if the processor stuck at certain point, okay, your processor is not able to execute a particular code. So there is a fault in your hardware side. So that case, this exception is automatically raised by your operating system. Okay. So this is the one type of exception. Your processor is stuck at certain point. It is not able to recover. That case, your OS or real-time operating system will automatically raise this exception. This is software kind of error. Okay. So that case, if the error is raised, you should stop the execution. Your processor, you have to make the processor in ideal state. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
See, suppose if the processor is executing critical section, critical section of program code, okay? So before execution, you have to disable all the interrupts. After execution, you have to enable it. For disabling interrupt, the priority mask bit must be 1, okay? And here, priority mask bit must be. So this one is for disabling all the interrupt requests except non-maskable interrupt and hard fault interrupt. So non-maskable interrupt means, so user or manufacturer cannot mask the interrupt request. Okay, we cannot mask. We cannot disable the particular interrupt request. That is called non-maskable. Hard fault is generated due to hardware issues. So it is a software kind of exception. Is it clear? So next one is the fault mask interrupt register. So this is also a 1-bit register, okay, which is very similar to your pre-mask register. So bit 1 to 31st are reserved. Okay. Suppose if the bit is 1, it doesn't have any effect on processor side. If it is 1, it prevents the activation of all the exception except for NMI. Here, hard fault is allowed. Okay. So it has a capability to disable this hard fault exception. So that is the difference between fault mask and priority mask. Using fault mask register, we can disable all the interrupt sources along with the hard fault interrupt exception. Is that clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
When the bit is set to 1, it masks all the interrupt or exception sources except non-maskable interrupt. Okay, the usage of this register is to disable exceptions when they may affect timing critical tasks, similar to your priority task, the priority mask register. Okay, is that clear?
Yes,
So next
ma'am.
one is the base priority mask register. So this base priority mask register is used to change the priority level necessary for pre-emission. Suppose if the high priority is requesting the processor attention, in that case, your low priority will be blocked and your high priority pre-emits the low priority. Okay. So it changes the priority level, which means it disables the interrupt and exceptions based on priority level. Okay. Please note it down. It disables disable all the interrupts or exceptions based on priority level. So this implementation, that is priority mask register implementation, that is number of bits, regarding your number of bits, is decided by microcontroller window. So here 8 bits are completely utilized, 0 to 7. Okay. So in ARM specifies only 3-bit or 4-bit. So only it utilizes either 3-bit or 4-bit in this field from 0 to 7. Okay. So look at this diagram. So this bits are utilized by your ARM processor from 3 to 8. Okay, either 3 bits or 4 bits. Okay, so 3 bits means able to address 2 power of 3 priority levels. Okay, if the bit size is 4, it is able to address 2 power of 4 priority level. So 2 power 3 means how many priority level?
8.
8. So it can address 8 priority level. Okay, 2 power 4 means 16 priority. So here, if it is 0, if this bit, that is this particular bit field is 0, 0 to 7, it has no effects. Okay, it has only effect, it has non-zero value. Okay, so non-zero value, for example, if the value is 3. Okay, so in binary 0 0 0 0 0 0 1 1. Okay, let's take this example. If it contains this non-zero value, if this base priority contains 3. Okay, so that case what it will do is it will process the priority, that is it will process the interrupts so it will process the interrupt request less than 3 or equal. Okay, so the greater than 3 will not be processed, so that is the meaning. Okay, so it disables all the interrupts of the same or low priority, which means the processor does not allow any interrupt or exception with the priority value greater than or equal to base priority. Okay, so if in the case the value is 3 now, which means the interrupts which have priority level of 3 and above, okay, will not be processed. 3 and above. Okay, 3 and above not processed. Please note it down. Less than 3 are equal to processed. Is that okay, students? Suppose if the number is 3, okay, it contains non-zero value means, if the number is 4 means compared to 3, it has higher value. That case, it receives lowest priority. புரிஞ்சுதுங்களா? இப்போ 3 இருக்கு அப்படின்னா எந்த எக்ஸப்ஷன்ஸ் எல்லாம் இது அலோவ் பண்ணோம்னா less than or equal to 3 தான் அலோவ் பண்ணும். Less than or equal to 3. Less than or equal to 3. Greater than 3 will not be processed. That is, your interrupt request from 4 will not be processed by your processor. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to repeat this? See,
No.
the activation of all the interrupts with the same or low priority interrupts as a base priority value. Okay, so the processor does not process any exception with the priority value, okay, greater than or equal to this base priority value. Okay, so your processor does not process any exception with the priority value greater than or equal to base priority. So we can define the values here. Suppose if it is 4, which interrupt sources are allowed?
less than or equal to 4.
4.
So all the exception with priority level, okay, 4 and above are disabled and less than 4 enabled. Okay, is that clear? So
Yes,
lesser
ma'am.
values are enabled, above values are disabled. Suppose if the value is 5, all the exceptions with priority level 5 and above are disabled and below are enabled. Okay, so in this way we can address 8 priority level under this field. Okay, is that clear? So
Yes, ma'am.
if you look at this point, the processor does not process any exception with the priority value greater than or equal to this priority. So here not equal. Lesser than values are equal. This is greater than or equal. Is it clear? So if the value is 7 means all the exception with the priority level 7 are disabled. Okay? 6 now 6 and 7 are disabled. 5 now 5 and above are disabled. Hmm? So next register is a control register. Okay. So I have explained this control register details already in your previous classes. Okay. So what is the purpose of this control register? What is the purpose of these two bits?
Mode selection, thread mode. And
Privileged and unprivileged.
What is the
Zero
purpose
is
of
bit
this?
is for
Huh? This is for
privileged and unprivileged.
privileged. Okay. Suppose if the bit is 0, it is in
Privileged.
privileged mode. So this is the default level. If it is 1, the processor is moved from privileged to unprivileged. So using this control register, we can move the processor from privileged mode to unprivileged mode. And this bit is for your stack selection. Okay. Suppose if the bit is 0, main stack pointer is selected. If it is 1, program stack pointer, process stack pointer is selected. So we have two stack pointers which are visible to the user. One is the main stack pointer, another one is the process stack pointer. If it is 0, MSB will be selected. If it is 1, PSB will be selected. So using this control register, we can program stack pointer selection and processor mode change selection. So remaining bits are reserved for floating point operation. So because since your floating point is an optional unit, if it is implemented, we can configure your floating point processor based on these bits from 2 to 31st. Okay. So 2 is for floating point and 3 to 31st are reserved. So do you have any doubts regarding this?
no, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
So just a summary of your complete mode selection and privileged and unprivileged handler. Okay, so look at this diagram. So normally your processor will execute all the codes in thread mode. Okay, so under this thread mode, using control register, we can choose the stack pointer by programming the last bit of control register. So if it is 0, MSB is selected. If it is 1, PSB is selected. Suppose if it is in handler mode, okay, this is suppose SPL is 0 means only MSB is selected. So under this handler mode, we can use main stack pointer only. We cannot program, we cannot select this PSB. So that is a very important point under this handler mode. Under the handler mode, we cannot configure the stack selection. So the default selection is MSB. You can use only main stack pointer. So once the handler returns back to the main program, we can utilize this particular feature by programming, that is choose MSB or PSB. So the important thing is under handler mode, we cannot configure control register for selecting this stack pointer. The default selection is MSB. Okay. So look at this diagram. So you can clearly understand the flow of privileged mode to unprivileged and unprivileged mode to privileged. Okay. So initially your processor start with privileged mode. Okay, that is a thread mode in privileged access. Okay, thread mode in privileged access. So if you want to switch the processor to unprivileged mode, you should program the control register by writing 1 in the corresponding bit. So this bit, last bit. Okay. So by programming this, we can move this processor status from privileged thread mode to unprivileged thread. Now processor is in unprivileged thread. if any exception is raised. So that case, the processor moves the mode from unprivileged thread to exception mode. Okay. So exception handler always run in privileged access level. So exception handler will execute all the codes in privileged access level. Once the execution is over, it returns back to unprivileged thread mode. Okay. Again, if any exception rises, it goes to exception handler. Here we can reprogram the control register to move the processor from unprivileged to thread mode. So this is the very important point. During the execution of the exceptions, we have, that is, user has rights to reprogram the control register to move the processor from unprivileged access level to privileged access level. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the first unit is completed here. Okay. So the next class I am planning to conduct one MCQ test in the first unit. Okay. So number of questions to be given 20. So the questions will cover all the concepts of your ARM architecture. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. Do you have any doubts in the first unit? Next class we will start the second unit.
No, ma'am.
Ma'am, do we have class this afternoon, ma'am?
Yes, no? Yes, Balasurya?
Today afternoon, do we have class, ma'am?
I will tell you later, Balasurya. The timetable, I think the revised timetable is yet to receive.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh?
Okay,
So,
ma'am.
instead of wasting the classes, so I have converted this lab class into theory.
Okay, ma'am.
See, for third experiment, so I want to address some basic concepts for batch 2 students. Okay. First, the LDR and STR is very important instruction. I think the batch 1 students have attended and also they have tried all the codes. Okay. So batch 1, do you have any doubts regarding the memory window accessing and lookup table accessing?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Have you all completed all the codes? Have you tried all the codes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
For batch 2, just I want to brief about this LDR and STR in this class. Okay. The batch 1 students, if you want to listen the class, you can stay back. Okay. Otherwise, you can leave. Because many students have asked about lookup table method techniques and asked about the doubts regarding the lookup table memory accessing. Okay. So have you completed that lookup table method? Batch 1, I'm asking
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am, we have completed, ma'am. But for 16-bit and 8-bit, the carry flag is not updated.
Okay. For batch 2, just I will give the overview. Okay. You complete all the codes and submit. Okay. So we will evaluate first 3 experiments. Okay. Once you come to the campus, I will teach remaining experiments. Okay. So the batch 1 students want to listen the class, you can stay back. Otherwise, you can read the batch 2 can stay back. Batch 2 stay connected. I will give a overview of your experiment number 3. Batch 1, do you want to leave or do you want to listen?
Ma'am, we'll stay, ma'am.
Huh?
We'll
So
stay,
it's
ma'am.
not compulsion. If you want to leave, you can leave. I have explained all the concepts in the lab class. If you want to leave, you can leave. சொல்லுங்க, லிசன் பண்றீங்களா போறீங்களா? Otherwise I have to start. Batch 1.
We will stay, ma'am.
We listen, ma'am.
Okay. So your next experiment is array handling. Okay. So here we are going to perform two programs. What is the addition of 4 numbers and sum of n numbers? Okay. So here we are going to access all the data through memory window and lookup table. Okay. So the condition is here, you have to get all your inputs and store your outputs in your memory window and also get the inputs through lookup table method. Okay. So first I will explain about this memory structure of your ARM Cortex M4. Okay. So it is a 4 GB memory. So it has 4 GB memory. That is 2 power of 32. So your address bus size is 32. So 2 power of 32 is 4 GB. So it's capable of addressing 4 GB memory. So it is utilized for, that is divided into different region, code region, data region, peripheral region, external RAM, external device, private peripheral bus, vendor specific memory. Okay. So here, look at this SRAM memory. So in this SRAM memory, we can store all our data, instruction codes and data. Okay. So the user memory region is this one. So in this region, we can initialize all our input and also at the same time as well as we can store all our outputs. So please note down this memory region. So in memory window, you were supposed to use this particular memory region. So this is a 1 MB bitband region completely allocated for user. So it's a user space. Generally, computer architecture follows two methods, two formats for storing the data elements in the memory, corresponding memories. One is little endian and second one is the big endian. Okay. So look at the first instruction. So LDR R2 comma is equal to 0x7698E39. So the function of this particular instruction is it will load this 32-bit numeric constant into R2. Okay. After execution, this R2 holds this 32-bit value. Okay. So next instruction, LDR R1 comma is equal to 0x8 followed by 7 zeros. So the function is this 32-bit value is loaded into R1. Okay. Now your R2 holds this value and R1 holds this value. Okay. So what I am going to do is using this STR. LDR is the load data register. STR is the store data register. Okay. So what I am going to do is I am going to store this R2 into the memory location. Okay. So STR R2 comma in brackets R1. In brackets R1 means where R1 is pointing this 32-bit memory address. So this is for loading the 32-bit value into R1. If you are representing that number in bracket means it's pointing the 32-bit memory address. Okay. Is that clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So R1 is pointing 32-bit memory address. So what I am going to do is I am going to store this R2 value into the memory pointed by R1. Okay. So after execution, what is your R2 value? R2 value is 76, 98, E3, 98. Okay. So this value is returned into the memory location 0x8000000. Okay. So we are transferring the 32-bit value into the memory location pointed by R1. Okay. So this will be the starting address of memory. Is that clear, students? So according to his little endian format, so 32-bit number means how many bytes you have? How many bytes you have? So this is your first byte. Okay. This is your second. This is your third. This is your fourth. And according to your memory structure, every 32-bit location can hold 8-bit data. We cannot store entire 32-bit data into single address. There is a single memory address. So each location can hold 8-bit data. So in the little endian format, this is your input data. I'm going to write this data into the memory location pointed by R1. So your R1 is pointing which memory? Your R1 is pointing this value. So this will be the starting address. So after execution of this particular instruction, what it will do is, first it will store this 9F, your LSB, okay? LSB into this starting address of memory location. Okay? And second byte into 8,000, 8, 1, okay? 8 along with this one. And third byte is stored in 0, 2. Fourth byte is stored in 0. So how many memory locations are required to store 32-bit number? How many memory locations are required? How many memory locations are required?
4.
4. Okay. So from this 0 to 03 holds this 32-bit number. So according to this little endian format, so first LSB is stored at the starting address of memory location. Second byte, next third byte, next fourth byte. Okay. So in case of your big endian format, okay, so just reverse vice versa. So your MSB is stored the starting address of memory. That is your fourth byte. This is your third byte, second byte, first byte. Okay. So fourth byte is located in stored in starting address of memory, and third byte is stored in 01. Second byte is stored in 02. First byte is stored in 0. Okay. So your Keil Microvision follows this little endian form. So LSB, okay, first LSB, your first byte, second byte, third byte, and fourth byte. For storing 32-bit number, it requires 4 memory locations. Is that clear? So 4 memory locations are required to store 32-bit value. For 16-bit value, how many memory locations are needed? Students, are you there?
2.
2.
2, ma'am.
Okay. For 8-bit data, how many memory locations?
1, ma'am.
1. So look at this example. The example follows little endian. So this is your input. Okay. So first 25 is loaded into starting address of memory. Next, this address will be incremented. The second byte is loaded. Next, third byte is loaded. Fourth byte is loaded. So 0, 1, 2, 3 holds this 32-bit value. Similarly, next 34, 20, A0, E3. Okay. And this case 1, 30, 82, E0. So 4 memory locations are required to hold 32-bit value according to this little endian format. So little endian means LSB is stored, that is first byte, last byte, it's second, third, fourth. Okay. So big endian just reverse. So E3 is stored at the starting address of memory. Next A0, next 10, next 25, like that. Just reverse. Okay. So we will be using this one, little endian only. Okay. So regarding your LDR, we have 3 instructions. Okay. That is LDR instruction. So this is for supporting 32-bit number, and LDR half word and LDR byte. Okay. So half word is for handling 16-bit data, byte is for handling 8-bit data. Okay. So this is the decimal number and this is the hexadecimal. Please note it down: 16, 0 to 65535, 32, 0 to 8Fs. Okay. So this is the data range for accessing these registers. LDR means it has the capability to process 32-bit number. Okay. For LDR-H to process, to handle 16-bit data. For byte, 8-bit data. Okay. So 3 instruction: LDR, LDR-H, LDR. Okay. And next, STR. Similar to LDR, we have 3 instruction: STR, STR-H, STR-P. This is for 32-bit and this is for 8-bit and this is for 16-bit, 8-bit and 32. Okay. So look at this example. So your R5 holds this value. Okay. The locations from 200 to 203. Okay. So LDR R7, R5. So what is the meaning of this instruction? What is the meaning of this instruction? What is the purpose of this instruction? The data pointed by R5 is loaded into which register?
R7.
R7.
So your R5 is pointing which one? 40000 to 200. Here I am using LDR instruction. So it is going to fetch 32-bit value from the corresponding memory location. The starting address is 4000 to 200. So 200 in a data is 15. So this 15 is loaded into the LSP of your R7. And the address will be incremented and pointing 201, and this will be loaded into the next byte of R7. A2 is loaded into the next. C5 is loaded into the MSP. So at the end, your R7 will be loaded with this value. In this way, we can fetch the data elements from memory window. So this, consider this memory is your SRAM. So using this instruction, we can fetch the 4 data bytes from the corresponding memory location. Finally, this register holds 32-bit value. Okay. In this way, your LDR instruction will get executed. Is it clear? Any doubts regarding
Yes,
this? Okay. So XTR is just reverse. So your R6 holds pointing this value. That is it's a memory address 400 to 2000, and I am going to store this R3 into the address, memory address, that is memory address pointed by R6. Just observe the diagram. So store R3 value into the corresponding memory locations pointed by R6. Your R6 is pointing to 0, 0. So what is the operation?
We are storing the R3 value in R6.
Okay. So first it will fetch the 74 LSB. So that is being transferred to which memory? That is being returned into 200. Next 63 is returned into 201. 52 is returned into 202. And 41 is returned into 202. So in this way, we can store 32-bit number into the corresponding memory location. Before that, we have to initialize this memory pointer and make this pointer to point the corresponding this particular memory location. Is that clear, students? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So just you analyze this diagram. What do you infer from this? Please tell me.
Only 1 byte is loaded, ma'am.
What is the instruction given here?
LDRB.
LDRB. LDRB means LDR byte. We are trying to access 8-bit data here. So load R7 with the content of memory pointed by R5. Okay, so your R5 holds this particular address and this address contains this 8-bit value. So what this instruction will do is it will transfer 8-bit data into the LSB of your R7 register. After execution, your R7 will be loaded with this value. So that is the difference between LDR and LDRB. LDRB is used to fetch 8-bit data from your memory. LDR means it is used to fetch 32-bit value from memory. Is that clear, students?
Yes, ma'am.
What is this STRB? Storing R1 register content into the memory pointed by R5. Okay, just a reverse operation. We are transferring the data from register to memory. See, load means data from memory to register. So that is the purpose of your load. Store means register to memory. So keep this point in your mind. This is very important. So load means we are trying to access memory elements from your memory window and transfer that value into register. Here, general purpose register to memory. Is it clear, students? Say something.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So next, LDRH. So we are trying to access 16-bit data. Okay. So similar to the previous. So here we have 63 and 74. After execution, the data available at 200 and 201 are transferred into R7. After execution, your R7 is loaded with this 16-bit value. So look at the direction. The data flows from memory to register. Store means data flows from register to memory. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Next, just reverse operation from register to memory using STRFetch. 16-bit data. Okay. So your first program, addition of 4 numbers. So here you have to get the input through your memory window. Okay. So please note down the steps. The first step, you have to define the data section and you have to define your code section using this form. Area my data, area my code, read one. So define the data section, define the code section. Under the data section, we need to initialize your input address and output address. Okay. So this is the user memory address. We can utilize the particular region for loading all our inputs and also storing our outputs. Okay. So I have used this particular address for getting the input data. Please note it down. So this is the syntax. So when this instruction is executed, after execution, this RAM underscore address 1 variable contains this particular value, 32-bit value. So this variable does not know this value is a data or address. I'm using equate equal assembler directive, just assigning this address to one variable. So this variable is for getting input through memory window. So this will be the starting address of your memory. And second, for output address for storing your result, okay, I have used this particular variable and initialize this address to 0. So this value is now after execution holdered by this variable. Clear till now? Batch 2 students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are all general formats. Okay. So what I am going to do is I have to move that particular address into the corresponding register and make this as a pointer. Okay. For that I have to use this LDR. LDR R0, comma, this is the syntax, is equal to RAM underscore address 1. So this RAM underscore address 1 holds which value? Which value?
200.
Okay, so that value is now loaded into R0. Now your R0 holds this value. So this is the starting address of memory. So input RAM address pointer 1. So load input address to R0. Now R0 holds this input address. For output case, same. Okay, load the output address to R3. Now R0 holds the input address, R3 holds the output address. Is that clear, students? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
But why we have to initialize in the data section, ma'am?
Because we have to get the values from the data. Okay, so this is the general procedure. If you want to directly address, you can give direct value here.
If you give direct address, it will take from code
Yeah,
section.
R0 is equal to hash that value you can give.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's a general format, you have to follow that. So under data section, suppose in some cases, some users are using that value as a 32-bit value. But our case, this 32-bit value is going to be a 32-bit address. For that differentiation, you need to initialize the data section. So this is a structure you have to follow. Suppose practice பண்ணி பார்க்கணும்னா you can directly give that particular 32-bit address and load that value into the R0. Are you able to follow?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For user understandability, we need to give all our data under data section, okay? And all our program codes, that is the program code should contain all the instruction codes. Okay. So first என்ன பண்ணியாச்சு? So your LDR is equal to LDR, okay, R naught is equal to parameters. You can directly give the 32-bit value here instead of assigning variable. Okay, that is also possible. LDR, what is the register name? R3 comma is equal to, this is your RAM address 1 and this is your RAM address 2. So please follow the format. Okay. So next I am going to use LDR instruction. LDR, okay, R1 comma R2. What it will do? R2 is specified in brackets. So what it will do? Please tell me. So what is the function of this particular instruction?
The value pointed by R0 will be
The
stored
pointer
in
by R0 is transferred to R1, which means your R0 holds addresses 20000000. Okay, so this holds 32-bit value. The 32-bit value means 0, 01, 02, 03. So we are going to transfer the data, 32-bit data, into R1. Now your R1 holds 32-bit value. So this 32-bit value is stored in the corresponding memory location. It requires 4 memory locations. So if 0 to 3 varaikku enna irukona, it holds 32-bit value. So now your R1 holds the first data. Okay. And second, add, I'm going to add this first data with some 0. Okay. R2 initially cleared 0, R2 comma R2. Okay, so this R2 holds your result, final result. So initially clear this R2, move R2 comma 0x00. Okay, so what it will do? So it performs addition operation with flag update. So R1 plus R2, result will be folded by R2. So what is the next instruction? Now your first addition is carried out. Your first data byte is being fetched. First data, 32-bit data is being fetched and added with 0, and result will be folded by R2. What is the next step? Students, are you getting me, or you are not able to follow? So add paniyache. What is the next step? You have to fetch the second data. How can you fetch the second data? So now your memory is pointing this value. That is initial address is 0. So your second data is available at 04, 05, 06, 07. Is that right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So for that you have to increment the pointer. Okay. So add. So what is your pointer here? So which register is configured as a pointer here?
R0.
R0. So you add R0 content with hash 4. Initially your R0 is initialized with this memory. Okay, now I am adding this value with 4. So now it's currently, it is pointing 20000004. Where your second data byte is stored. Okay. So next, I am going to store the result by using that is R0 to the memory pointed by R3. R3 holds your output address. Every time I will perform addition, increment the pointer and store the results in the corresponding memory location. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now
Yes,
your
ma'am.
R2 holds the first addition result. 0 plus first data. The result is in R2. I am storing that R2 into the memory pointed by R3. Okay. And next for storing carry, I am going to use R4 register. So R4 holds carry flag status. For that case, just I will use this add C R4 comma R4 comma hash C. Suppose if any carry flag is set, okay, so what this instruction will do, it will add R4 plus R4 plus carry result is stored in R4 plus carry result is stored in R4. If any carry is occurred, okay, here 0. 0 plus R4 plus carry is equal to R4. If any carry is set to 1, this is added with this. So 0 plus 1, your R4 holds carry flag status. Just I am adding R4 with 0 along with carry flag status. If carry is 1, initially your R4 is cleared. If the carry is 1, so after execution your R4 holds 1. In previous addition, if any carry is set, that will be added with your R4 content. R4 holds the carry. So next, just unconditional branch instruction to repeat the perform the next addition. Sorry, this will come here. So here address is incremented by 4. Now it is pointing 04. That data was transferred to R1, performs addition, increment the pointer, stores the result and update the carry flag and repeat the same operation. So you can carry out the operation only for 4 iterations, 4 to 5. 5 iteration to add 5 data. So sorry, 4 data. 432-bit value. Is that clear, students?
Ma'am, can you please say that add carry statement, ma'am?
Okay. See, add carry R4 comma R4 comma hash save. So R4 is why I am using general purpose registers for performing 4 or 5 addition. The carry status is not 1. Okay, suppose if the carry first case if carry is first addition if carry is set to 1. Okay, and second addition carry is set to 1 means 1 plus 1 that will be 2. Okay, next carry next addition carry will be set. That case 2 plus 1 the result is 3. Okay, so for that case I am going to use this add carry instruction. So your R4 holds only your carry status. இப்போ நீங்க carry flag பார்த்தீங்கன்னா only your carry flag can hold either 0 or 1. We cannot extract the exact result after the completion of your 4th addition. Okay. So here R4 holds the carry status. So add carry R4 comma R4 comma hash 0 means R4 is initially 0. So 0 plus 0, what is the answer? 0. That 0 is added with your carry. If any previous addition, if carry is set, so that is added with the 0. So your R4 holds 1 now. Okay. Now R4 holds 1. First addition. So for example, first addition. I am adding two 32-bit number. After addition, your carry flag is set to 1. Okay. So, according to this instruction, 1 plus carry plus your R4 is initially 0. I am adding this with 0. What is the answer? Your R4 holds 1 now. Okay. So this addition, after the addition, now your R4 holds 1. Coming into the second addition. Suppose if the carry flag is affected, okay, in that case, this instruction will get executed. What is the carry flag status? What is the carry flag status here? Previous addition, your R4 holds 1 no. Okay. So your carry adding with 0. Previous case R4 is 1. What is the answer now? 2. Okay. Is that clear? Sheshastri? So first addition of 1 that is accumulated to the second addition by incorporating this add C. Okay. So the third addition. Suppose if the carry is set, so this instruction will add your carry plus 0 plus this 2. Now your carry is 3. Okay. Similarly 4. Okay. Suppose if you are adding 4 X, please find out the answer for this example. What is the answer? So according to your program, first initially we clear the register 0 plus the first data will be added and result will be stored in a separate register R3. Okay. Okay. Next, your R2, this is the memory address. Okay. Next, this answer along with this. Okay. We will get some 32-bit value. Okay. And this 32-bit value, we will get some answer. This with this one, you will get some 32-bit. So what is the answer at the end of the addition? What is the answer now? To do it in the calculator, please tell me the answer. FFF plus. So this is first after addition, the carry is set to 1. So this should be accumulated to the next addition. Now for that case, I have to use that add C instruction. Okay. So next I am going to add next data. Now the carry is 2. Okay. Next I am going to add next data. Now the carry is 3. So at the end of the addition, you should get this value. Okay, 3 along with your 32-bit value. Is it clear? Yes or no? Students,
Yes, ma'am.
are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
So in this case, one second. Suppose if you are using LDR, you should give 32-bit number in the memory window. Suppose if you are using LDRH, you should give 16-bit data in the memory window. Suppose if you are using byte, you should give 8-bit data. So based on that, you have to increment the memory pointer. Suppose if you are using LDR, the memory pointer should be incremented by 4. Suppose if you are using LDR-H, the memory pointer should be incremented by 2 because only 16-bit data was involved. Suppose if you are using LDR-B, you have to increment the memory pointer one time. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Similarly, suppose if you are using LDR, you should use STR. LDR-H, you should use STR-H. LDR-B, you should use STR-B. If you are performing 32-bit value, the memory pointer should be incremented by 4. Suppose 8-bit data handling should be incremented by 1. 16-bit data handling should be incremented by 2. So it's a very simple program. But you should know about all these details, how to use LDR, how to store the result, and how to access the memory elements from the memory window. Is that clear? Can I show the demo for this?
Yes.
See here, under view option, you have to click this memory window 1. Okay. So in memory window, you should enter this particular address. 0x000, sorry, 20, 2000, 0, okay. After entering, press enter key. Okay, so you can see all your memory address here. So this area is the user area. You can give all your inputs, input data, and also uh, you are allowed to store all your data here. Okay. Is that clear, students? So I am going to execute this. So run to cursor line, and after giving this, just you enter the inputs here. I'm giving 4 inputs, 4 32-bit value, okay? For 32-bit value, how many memory locations are required? 4 memory locations. So this is your first data. The first data was FEFFFF, okay? And next second data is your second data. And this is your fourth data. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So is your fourth one. Okay. As you run the code. So now look at here, R0 is loaded with this starting address. Okay. And next, your R3 is loaded with your output address 20020. Okay. And next, first data is loaded into R1. Just look at here. There is a color change. If it is red, means this particular data is being transferred into general purpose register. So your first data is being fetched, and next second data Okay. After adding 0 plus this particular value, R2 holds the first addition result. And next, it's pointing next address 4. Okay. So next data byte is fetched. Okay. Performing the addition, your R2 holds this particular value. Okay. So perform sequential. Look at the R4. Now carry is set to 1. Okay. Now carry is set to 2. So all the data bytes are being fetched and results are stored at the corresponding memory location. Okay. So this is your answer. At the end of the fourth addition, your memory location, that is R2, holds this particular value. Using str, you can store this 32-bit value into the corresponding memory location. HCFFEED. Okay. Suppose if you are using LDRH, you have to use 2 memory location for loading single data instead of 4 memory location. For LDRB, you have to use 1 memory location to access 8-bit data. Is that clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
No. So next method is lookup table method. So you might have known this particular method. So we already we have done several programs in 8051. Okay? The concepts are very similar to the previous program. Only thing is we have to initialize our own data space in the main program. Okay. So the important thing is using lookup table, we can initialize our own data space. Instead of separate data space, we can have own data space in the main code. Okay. So this is your code area. So this address is for storing your output values. And here I have defined my data space. So this data space contains the inputs. So this DCD is for defined constant data. So this is for initializing 32-bit value. Initializing 32-bit value. So I have assigned 4 32-bit value here. And DCW, suppose if you want to perform 16-bit addition, you have to use this DCW for 16-bit data. Define constant byte. Define constant byte means you can initialize 8-bit. So based on the input, you can use LDR, LDRH, LDR. Okay. So after initializing this region, actually this region is named as our underscore data. Okay. So you can directly give this name to the particular register. So this region is pointing a 32-bit address. That value is loaded into R0. Okay. So all your values are stored in the memory window in a particular 32-bit static address. Okay. So that address is now loaded into R0. So in previous case, you have to define the input address and that address should be loaded into R0. This case, you can define your own data section and starting address of the data can be loaded into the R0 register. Now R0 holds the starting address of this data space. Okay. So under this data space, you can store all your input data elements. Okay. So the concepts are clear. It's very similar to your previous program. So this is for storing your output, get the input data, perform addition, increment the memory pointer, store the result, and store the carry, update the carry in R4 register. Okay.
Ma'am, what is the full form of DCD, ma'am?
DCD is defined constant data for 32-bit. Okay. Defined constant word is for 16-bit. Defined constant byte is for 8-bit data.
Okay.
So here I have defined 32-bit value by using this TCD assembler directory. Okay, so I have given 4 inputs here under the data space, our underscore data. So the starting address of this section is loaded into R0. So R0 holds the starting address of our data. Okay. So first you execute the first instruction. After execution only, you can know the starting address of your data section. Okay. So I will run the code here. So this is the starting address. After execution, it will randomly assign some 32-bit value and where all your data will be stored. Okay. So your R0 is pointing this particular address. So in this memory window, you should enter that address. 08 0 0 0 try 2 3 C. So here you can see whatever data we have entered, that data are stored from this particular memory address. So this is 23222120 first data, next second data, third data, fourth data. Is that clear, students? In this way, you have to trace the starting address of memory location using your lookup table memory. First, you execute the first line of your code, and after execution, based on your R0 content, open your memory window and look at all the inputs and execute the code and check to see the results are stored after execution. So after execution, so here 3 data bytes are fetched, being fetched. Finally, results will be stored in the corresponding address. Okay. So you can use any method, that is using memory window method or lookup table method. So which method is convenient to you in your CAT or in your lab programs, you can use either lookup table method or memory window method. Any doubts? So Thursday batch student, just you execute the simple addition. That is number, that is four number addition. That is what is the program? Addition of 4 numbers. Okay. Is to complete addition of 4 numbers for all the data types for LDR, LDRH, and LDRP. Okay. So next theory class, I will explain the algorithm for sum of n numbers and also to find number of positive and negative numbers in an array. So first we complete the exercise number 4, and remaining experiments will be explained offline in your offline classes. Okay, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can post your doubts in the WhatsApp group. Okay. I will help you in all aspects. So lookup table try பண்ணி பாருங்க. At the same time, memory window try. Batch 1 students, do you have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, attendance, ma'am.